So, Costa, it is so nice to see you here. I'm just going to see if I can make you a bit bigger here.
Oh, don't
So
make me
everyone's
too
just
big.
going, Dad, it's Costa. Costa's here. Did you know he's here? I saw Eleni going, Dad.
I'm all right. Hi, Maya. Hello,
Thanks so much for being here, because when you first dropped in and you saw us all kind of glued to the screen saying nothing, it must have looked a bit weird. We were all watching David Holmgren, Brenna Quinlan and Charlie McGee, who joined us yesterday morning, and we recorded that conversation. And so Charlie took us for a bit of a walk through Meliadora, and David was talking about, Maya asked him the question, how does it feel about when you were not just much older than us here, well, not me, them, that you started this thing called permaculture that's become a global movement. And he was sort of just saying how amazing it is, but also how he wishes that it had spread more around the world. He was such a revolutionary. But you've been to Meliadora recently, haven't you? It's one of the kind of iconic places, isn't it?
Yeah, what I'll do, everyone, I'll put a link up in the chat when I finish, and you can then watch the story that we did for Gardening Australia on David and Meliadora, and also when Nick and Kirsten from Milkwood were there, we also did a story on the mushrooms and fungi that they were growing as well. So it's a two-parter, but I'll put that up there for you all to have a look at. But yeah, look, for me, it was wonderful to go there and to see what David set up as this model, and to see how it's worked and how productive it's been, and how those ideas that he and Bill shared are in 3 dimensions down there, but in 3 dimensions in such a way that you can take away and adapt it and apply it in your conditions. And whether that's like for Tommy over where you live, or whether it's Lulu or Kitty or Eleni, whoever it might be, you can take away from that what fits. And the really interesting thing, as you know, he's just put out his latest book, and this is a book that comes after 40 years of this thinking. And the thing that strikes me the most about the book is he doesn't say go and find a hideaway, go and put yourself somewhere away from the world. He actually says all of these solutions we've been working on for 4 decades are now primed to be applied to the suburbs, to the cities, to those things that we tried to steer away from their direction in the 80s, and stop the greed is good and just this proliferation. But he's gone, well, okay, how can we apply all these things to where most of us live, which is in urban environments? And that's the thing that excites me the most about it, because the people with the houses and with land and with roof spaces, they're the ones with the real value now. And that's an exciting part for me.
Yeah. Thanks, Costa. And you're the compost ambassador, aren't you? So how's your compost going down your street? Because you've got compost happening on your verge, haven't you? Down in Bondi in Sydney, I believe. That's where it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just actually when I popped in and you were all watching the video, I thought, right, I'm going to go outside and just I had 17 minutes. I thought, yeah, that's a perfect amount of time to get my hands into it. And so I went out and just collect some winter grass and some chickweed and whatever. And what I do is I put it in the chicken coop now when the chookies have gone to bed. So when they wake up in the morning, they've got a nice feed and they don't scream and shout at 6 a.m. That sort of keeps them going till 8 o'clock or even later. So I went and did that and checked on my compost. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 200-litre round compost bins. I've got 2 worm farm bathtubs, 4 worm farm cafe style things. And I've got probably about 15 houses bringing me their food scraps.
Brilliant.
And, turning it around and putting it back out on the verge. And a lot of the stuff that's growing on the verge at the moment is all sort of plants that have just keep reseeding. So amaranth, canola, and that's all really good for the bees at this time of the year because I've got lots of flowers and my bees are really having a good forage on that, the native bees and the honey bees. And yeah, but from a compost point of view, there's so many resources in the city. We just got to tap in on them and say, hey, thank you, your waste, as Charlie sings, you know, there's no such thing as waste. You've just got to get it to your place.
Yeah. And so that's something that anyone can do, really, isn't it? To set up something like a share waste system, a community composting system up and down your street. Hey, while you're here, Costa, I'm wondering whether anyone has got questions for you. And actually, maybe I should just let people know, because we have people here from Uganda, from a refugee settlement in Kenya, and Uganda. And I'm, you know, maybe we should just tell them a little bit about you. So Costa is the host of a show called Gardening Australia, because we also have people from England and the Netherlands here and Kenya.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
hi, everyone.
So Costa runs something called Gardening Australia. He's a host, and you actually took out like the most popular Australian TV celebrity for last year, didn't you? So, I mean, how's that for a gardener, permaculture, community gardener, verge gardener dude who feeds his chickens and comes and chats to Permayouth and does this beautiful kids show and everything about gardening? You get voted the best. I'm just so thrilled. You know, that says something. So, and thank you for being here and joining us.
Look, Mike, you're talking me up. Look, that was, I suppose, the exciting thing for those of you that don't know, like the Gardening Australia show has been on the television. Well, last year was its 30th year, and I became involved with it back in 2012. So I've been working away at building that awareness, really getting it out into the public space and getting the mainstream in. Otherwise, if we're just talking to the same people, well, we're not growing it, and we needed to get it out there. And so we've been working really hard. I've been working really hard to get the profile up, and they'd never been nominated. And then we got nominated again. We got nominated the third time, and then bang, in the 30th year last year, we won it as the best lifestyle show. And then I got best or most popular presenter, which, you know, for me, that's a wonderful thing for all of us, you know, and I see that award as putting the spotlight on what we do. And the best part about it was every time that someone was asking me, and when you're being asked by other media that may never necessarily want to chat about gardening and growing and permaculture, when it's the other way around and they're asking you, well, the narrative is just perfect, because you can say, well, since you asked, I'm going to tell you about permaculture. I'm going to tell you about land care. I'm going to tell you about our pollinators. I'm going to tell you about compost. And did I tell you that I'm going to tell you about compost and waste and food security and the power of individual connection to nature and connection to country and caring for country and the role of our indigenous knowledge and that whole history. So it's an incredible gift to be able to say, okay, this is just a prism to look through. So don't look at me, look at what I'm looking at. And that's how I saw the whole thing. And every time I get a chance to talk, it's an opportunity to speak for you, for all of you as Permayouth, for all of you as permaculturists, spreading a story and telling a narrative. And you mentioned before, Morag, about Brianna. The amazing thing, as you would have seen with her work, is she puts a lot of information into a very tight image. And that image just goes, whoa, right up there in your face. And that's what television's about. That's what the internet and social media is about. It's about evocative images to get people hooked. You don't have to tell them everything in one story, in one moment, in a 3-minute story or a one post. It's about whetting the appetite, putting the interesting stuff, putting your slant on it. So, you know, whether it's whether it's Sofia, whether it's Timo, Nia, Flynn, you know, you all have a perspective. Eden, Somali, you've got perspectives, and your perspectives will resonate not just with your generation, but you can shift the adults because you see it differently, and you just go, hey, hang on, have a look at this. I'm taking that bit of information. I'm not creating new information. I don't have to worry about that. I've got, you know, David's written a book with 800 pages. What he needs is for people to tell that story in good, sharp, easily digestible morsels that you can go, yeah, I get that. Now I want to look further, you know? And so Brianna's storytelling is exactly as valuable and it is inspiring for each of you because you see the world differently. And by God, that's what we need. We need your enthusiasm, your different perspective with a knowledge and information. And what Maya and Permayouth, what you're all doing is getting clued up and getting that information so that when someone asks you a question, you can just go bang and hit the ball back, but hit it back in a really productive way, not in a victim way, not in a negative way, not in a finger pointing way, but in an embracing way where we can really connect with the heart and say, hey, we're in this together, and change the narrative.
Yeah, beautiful. And, you know, like you said, it's finding those little morsels. It's the songs, it's the pictures, it's the perspective. And we each have a different perspective from wherever we're from. I'm wondering if anyone has any questions that they're dying to ask. Oh, Eve has a question here in the chat saying, what age did you start gardening, Costa?
Oh, hi, Eve. Queensland. Hey, up there. Hi, Queensland. Yeah, Eve, I suppose I started gardening because my grandfather was a market gardener and I was pretty much fumbling around on, you know, 2 arms and 2 legs in that garden from that age. And he used to sit me on his lap like this and, you know, a bit like my chicken here. He'd sit me on his lap and he'd say the words in Greek and I'd have to say them in English and vice versa. And like, I remember that like it was yesterday, you know, and I think, you know, if I were to look at each and every one of you and sort of say, well, you know, who was it, Flynn or you know, Deb, Bemrick, who was it that sort of gave you the first baton change? And yeah, it would have been in my grandfather's garden and also my godfather's farm, which is where I took my first steps. So I think that's how I got connected to the earth.
We've got Bemareki from, Chloe has a question. Did you grow up with permaculture? I think you just kind of answered that question. You grew up with market gardening. Yeah.
It's interesting, Morag, because, and Bremy, it's funny because my grandfather, I mean, he was doing that from the 1930s, but he was doing permaculture, but it didn't exist as a word. He was sustainable, but sustainability wasn't a thing. And I suppose this is the really interesting thing. I mean, I only have to look at that sign between Morag and Maya there. And these are words, these are ideas, and they're not fixed in space and time. These are open. How do you grow abundant food? How do you make your garden? How do you design an edible garden course? Where's the food forest in your world? All of these things. You know, my grandfather didn't know those words, but he had chickens, he had ducks, he had geese. He caught pigeons and fed them until they were clean and then they were eaten. You know, like all these things. He was a composter, but he didn't really, I don't think he even called it compost. He just said, this is making soil.
Yeah.
You know, so
we've got a question.
Important.
Sorry, we've got following on from the compost question, we've got a couple of ones in the chat. One from Lulu, who's in Zanzibar, and she's saying, in the interview video, we heard about using heat coming from the compost to heat up water. She's saying, do you wonder if you use compost in your household life in any other way than the garden, and if so, for what?
Oh, great question, Lulu. You know, I did a permaculture design course. I helped teach one with Darren Doherty from regrarians. I'll put that in the chat here, and it was also with Regen Ag. So you can look up those two groups. Oh, sorry, I sent it privately. I'll put it up later. Anyway, for the permaculture design course, on the first day, what we did was get 2 steel stakes and make them about 2 meters apart in a square, or sorry, a meter apart in a square. And then we wrapped 50 meters of high density black poly pipe around it. And then we built a 2 meter high compost, and that ran the water pipe through there. And for 2 weeks, 35 people living on that property had hot water that you actually had to mix the cold in with, because it was so hot you'd get burnt because it was sitting at about 75 degrees.
Wow.
So yeah, that's one of the best ways you can use compost to heat water, to burn off weed seed. But that's probably just one example that I'd share with you as a different way to use it.
And thanks, Costa. There's a question from Bemariki. Now, Bemariki is the group here that you can see. So this is a group, this is a Permayouth club in a refugee settlement in Uganda. And I've been meeting with these guys for a long time now, and they're actually studying their permaculture design course with their teacher here, Bemariki. And they've got a question for you, which is about what are the materials you use when you're making a community compost? I guess maybe how do you set up a community compost would be the good question from that. And he's also asked, is hay important in compost?
I just had to come down to where my computer charger is, otherwise you'll lose me. So I'm connected now in another room. Yeah, materials. Good question, Bemerick. So in my case, I get a lot of food scraps because there's 52 houses in my street, and I get about 15 houses bringing me their scraps, which would equal around about anywhere. And I also get another couple who provide food for the people that they train. They cook food for them. So they bring me about a garbage bin full of food scraps a week. So all up, it's around about 80 to 120 kilos a week, which is a fair bit. And that's all green, that's all nitrogen. So I need to counter that with carbon. And someone said, can you use hay or straw? And I have straw in the chicken coop. So I can muck that out. I can drag that out and use that. I have a lot of leaves and dry material that I get off the street and out of the garden. And then my biggest one is paper and cardboard as an alternative to the nitrogen, for the carbon, for the brown or the green, depending on which language you want to use. And the carbon is everywhere. I just go out on a Sunday night when the bins are out and all the blue bins are out there, and I just go and salvage all the paper and cardboard. And, I can just see one day there'll be, in the newspaper, there's Costa from Gardening Australia raiding people's garbage bins. But I just say, well, it's not garbage. It's a valuable resource. And that's where I get it. So that keeps me really loaded up, and they're just local resources. I'm not bringing anything in, and I'm in the city. So I also asked the local landscaper. He and she, they mow lawns and things, and they bring me their big bags and just sit them on the street. And then what I do is I actually let the grass go brown. So then it goes from being a nitrogen to being a carbon. And then I can add that as a carbon rather than add gluggy green grass, because that can make things anaerobic if you don't mix it well. So yeah, the more you look, the more you have to make sure you've got the capacity to take and use the materials. Because if people bring it, you got to work it. You can't just leave it on the street, because then you'll bring rats. And then what you do, and this is important, if you're going to start a compost, make sure you keep it secure, because you can give compost a bad name. If suddenly people see you making a compost and there's rats running everywhere and it smells, those people that we need to bring in, you're going to push them away, and you do us all a bad name. So I have a responsibility to make sure that my urban compost doesn't have rat diggings and smell, because I'll make it hard for all of us. So think about it in those terms. Start small and then build up your resource base and build up your compost capacity.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Costa. There's a couple of questions coming in the chat here. Eleni asked, what's your best compost mix to make? What's your secret ingredient? And I'll just tell you the other two questions that I can see. Maybe you can weave all the answers together. One is the glue from the cardboard a problem? Asked Chloe. And how do you stop those rats? She asked too. So that's three questions together there.
Okay, Chloe. So generally most of the boxes are just folded together. Like they just fold in and they'll have staples. If there's sticky tape, I just pull the sticky tape off, because what you'll find is the sticky tape will end up in the finished compost. And particularly, be careful if you use a shredder with the little windows on the envelopes, because if you shred those, what you end up with in the worm farms is just these little strips of plastic that won't break down, and then you sort of got them through it all. So if we can take that contamination out up the valley, then we don't end up with it spread all over the floodplain, you know, when we want to then apply it out onto the garden, and then it spreads in the garden and animals and things can ingest it and so on. So yeah, from a cardboard point of view, I don't have a problem. And one of the good things to do, if you are going to use cardboard and put it in and you want to rip it up, it's too hard to try and break up. Like you get way tired trying to do it. Just have a garbage bin full of water, stick it in, doing something else, turn it over, stick in the other side, and then when you come back to ripping it up, it'll just be like melted butter, and you just go finito, and it'll have moisture in it, so it will already encourage the microbes to get in there. How to stop rats? If you're going to use one of those cone compost bins, put a aviary mesh, bird mesh, or chicken wire, but make sure you don't have the big gaps, because little mice can get in there. I use aviary mesh, which is about 2 centimetres by 2 centimetres, and that will stop any vermin getting in there. And I curl it over the base of the compost bin, and that way they can't get down. The other thing to do, if you're using, if you've got your benchtop compost like this one here, and this is what people forget, or they don't forget, they just don't do it. Put layers of paper, cardboard, paper towel, all those things. Make your ratio 50-50 here, so that then when you put it in the bin, you've already got your ratio. You're not putting in a gluggy, stinky, slimy mess that when you tip the bin out is oozing all over the place, and you got the carbon in there. And if the carbon's in there, then you just have to add a bit more, but not have to go, oh, I've got this bowling ball of glug there and I've got to break it up, and again it smells and so on. This doesn't smell, because the carbon is sucking out all of the juice and it's just breaking down nicely. It's almost bokashi, because
I almost went to lean in to smell it there, Costa, because you're offering it to us like, oh yeah, no, it doesn't smell, it's fine, it's really good.
Exactly, you know.
No, it's perfect. Hey, do you know what I also do is I think about what I always choose clothes that are compostable. So and when they're finished, I stick them in the, if they've got holes I can't sew up anymore, then they go into the compost. And also sheets. I remember putting a sheet into a worm farm once. It was one of those ones that had the elasticated, outside edge. Stuck the sheet in, came back a couple of months later and just pulled out the thread of elastic, and the sheet had completely gone. So, all things, wow. Anything that's biodegradable, really, like you're saying, all the paper stuff, any cloth stuff, anything can be put into our system that way to really get rid of so much of the waste that we have. Now, there's a question here that I could see. Oh gosh, there's a couple of questions going, but the first one is, what if there's ink on the box? And this is actually a question that I get quite often with the No Dig Garden with newspaper as well. And then Nad from Kenya, I can't see you. Where are you, Nad? Give us a wave. Oh, you must be on the next screen. Anyway, Nard, where are you?
There.
Oh, there you are. Give us a wave, Nard.
Yeah.
There you are.
Hey, Nard.
Okay, there you are. He's asking Costa, how did you make your beard grow that huge? Did you compost it or something?
Yeah, worm juice, Nard, worm juice as a conditioner and tonic, and then a little bit of a compost mask. I packed the compost around it, and rest and relax for half an hour, and that kind of infuses it with all that goodness.
Nard, he's joking.
Seriously, yeah, I think it was just my Greek heritage, Nard. It's in the genes. And speaking of genes, Morag, I saw a fantastic post, and I'm gonna share it tomorrow. A fellow permaculturist here in Sydney got a pair of stretched jeans and put them in the compost and worm farm, and what was left was just this massive. Well, basically, you could almost put it on, but there's so much petrochemical in there because all of those fibres, there's probably 60% petrochemical and 40% fibres. But I'll share that one with you, and you might be able to share that post on your page.
Yeah,
but yeah. Our role in fashion is, there's a big footprint, and we can make a difference. But to the question of paper, I steer clear of the glossy magazines, because from what I know, and I'm doing a little bit of homework on it at the moment, but I know that the glossy magazines use a lot more ink, and the questions around that ink are not solved. So I don't touch that in the garden. The other newspaper inks are okay. So I use those. Anything on boxes, most of the boxes that I use are just plain cardboard boxes. If it's a shiny, glossy box, I treat that the same as a shiny, glossy newspaper magazine, and I don't use it. But I'm doing a bit of homework and asking around on that, and when I get some good answers, I'll let you know.
Oh, that'd be so great, because it's a big question that comes up all the time, and I've asked different sort of organic organisations, whether they could use it as part of their organic certification, and the response I got a few years back was it's okay, but I can never find the detailed science about it. So if you discover it, I'd love to know, just so I can kind of say that out loud with confidence, and that's great.
I agree.
There's another question here. I know you probably got to go soon. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. There's questions.
Whatever you feel, I'll hang around. It's wonderful to be here, but I don't know what else you've got on. So
well,
I'll go when you're ready.
We have a couple of films and a slam poem, and what I'm going to suggest, though, is that some of the films that we were going to show, we might actually put into our next week's just normal Permayouth meeting that we do every week. And if you want to come along to that, you can start to see films and all those sorts of things. So if we've missed showing your film today, don't worry, it'll be on next week. And I invite you all to come back again next week. And we'll share that link with you after the show too. But so there are a couple of other questions, and then I reckon, actually, Costa, if you'd be willing to stick around and have a listen to a couple of things, I reckon you'd have your socks knocked off by the standard of work and of filming and slam poetry that these. Look, they're already knocked off, and you haven't even started. All right, so maybe just one more question for you, and I can see here that Bemeriku really wants to ask you, because it's a big issue. Waste is a really big issue in the refugee camp. He's saying, how big should a community composting be? And it's kind of a bit of a how long is a piece of string kind of question, but what would you recommend as a way to get started, possibly?
Yeah, well, Bemerick, I suppose to build a compost, like to build a hot compost, you need at least a cubic metre, just so that you can generate a bit of heat and you've got enough material in there for it to sort of go, otherwise anything smaller is just going to barely start, because it doesn't have enough bulk. It needs a bit of momentum. So I think, think about a cubic metre. It seems like a lot of material, but once you start piling it up and you get your mix in there, your lasagna type mix of greens, brown, green, brown, green, brown, you'll build that up pretty quickly. And, you know, then that's going to break down by at least 1/3. And depending on how hot it is and how hot it stays, if it stays hot too long, it'll break down by 1/2. So you want to sort of get it up, and you don't have to worry about those exact heats, because it's probably difficult in those environments. You don't have those materials or those bits of technology to test the temperature, but that doesn't matter. The main thing is to have the bulk, and you'll feel it, and you'll say, yep, this is still warm, because basically it goes like this. It goes like that, hot, like on a graph, it goes hot, boom, up to anywhere from 65 to 85 degrees. It'll stay there for, 3, 4, 5 days, and then it will start to slowly drop down. And then once it changes over to be a cold compost, well, what you need to do, if you want to keep it up there, you bring the outsides in, and that way it keeps the heat, because it's cooler on the outside. So you bring the hotter stuff out, the cooler in, and then that'll heat up and turn it into this ongoing temperature static. It'll stay static for a period of time, and you'll get a good result that way.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks, Costa. There's one last question about, this is a super big question, and maybe if you've got one short answer for it, how is the fashion industry affecting our environment? I guess because you were talking about the jeans. This is from Jane in Kenya.
Hello, Jane. Lovely to suddenly on my Sunday afternoon be talking to Nigeria and Kenya, and this is just absolutely awesome to connect with you through Maya and Permayouth. I feel real privileged to be here chatting to you. But yeah, the fashion industry is up there with agriculture when it comes to the footprint that it leaves. The only thing is, agriculture's out in the open for everyone to see. Fashion is hidden in factories with pipes, and those pipes go underground and then they go out into rivers and things, and there's people involved with using toxic chemicals to make the colors. There's huge areas of land growing non-organic materials that really leave the earth. The way that cotton farms are set up, they flatten the ground, they leave nothing, they level it perfectly, and then they just basically use the soil as a stand to hold the plant up. And then all they do is run drones over the top to check for the number of insects, and then they run sprays and so on. So it has a massive impact from the point of the growing of the materials that are used in it, to then the processing and manufacture of those materials, and then of course the transport, because we're transporting so much fashion all around the world. And as you said, Jane, then you end up with all the waste, because people go, oh, this is fashion, oh, I'll wear this once and then I'll throw it out. So our fashion trends are something we either jump on board or we step away from and find clothing that's made from materials that are the kind of materials we support right back up the valley, or we use the second-hand clothes that have been made so that they don't get thrown into landfill, and then all the leftovers and the waste we try and compost rather than throw into landfill.
Thanks, Costa. It's a huge issue, and those of you who are Australia-based, you might want to watch Craig Rucastle's War on Waste shows, which really shows the backstory of waste, of the fashion industry and a whole lot of other industries. I've got thumbs up from Damon there. It's an awesome series. Lulu's got her hand up. Maybe go to Lulu, and then there's two things I'd really love for you. Oh gosh, there's so many things I want you to stick around for, Costa, but we're going to run out of time before we get through them all. But we have a slam poem from Eve coming up, and Sofia from the Philippines has done. Sorry, I'm trying to juggle everything around. There's a song from Somali who's here. He's done a song from a refugee camp in Kenya, the Kakuma refugee camp, and Sofia has a short film from the Philippines of her new forest garden. And so they're all just a couple of minutes each, and it'd be so great if you could stick around for that. If we can get through the next few films as well, let's do that too. But Lulu had her hand up. Did you want to just quickly ask something? No? You sure?
No, it's skip me. It's fine. I was just gonna say that I've this in a secondhand store on the island, and this is actually imported from Germany. So the fashion industry, you know, a lot of the secondhand stuff gets brought to Tanzania and other countries in Africa, and this is secondhand, and then my pants as well, rest of my clothes. So it's actually funny because, you know, I'm living in a Western community in Zanzibar and I'm getting clothes from Germany. But anyways, that's all.
Awesome. So
yeah, it shows how crazy the globalization is, that we can just create these systems that grow something here, transport it there to be manufactured, it goes over here to be packaged and coated, and then transported from there. You know, it's just like fruit being grown in South Africa and being sent to Germany to be processed, and then to Thailand to be packaged. Like, these are things that we can say no to ultimately, but we need to know about it. That's right. And once we know about it, we can start to come up with alternatives.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just looking for Eve. Are you ready to go, Eve? I'm going to put you on the big screen here for me. If you want to change Eve to be on speaker view so you can actually see her, that's the way to go and do this. So Eve is our Permayouth slam poet, one of the co-founders of Permayouth, and I believe she's already written the slam poem for the next festival next month already. She's prolific. Okay, take it away, Eve.
Thank you. So this slam poem is called Let's Stand Together. Who am I? I am my mother, my father. I am my brothers and sisters. I am me. I am you. I am everyone. Are you with me? Let's stand together. Let's be the voice of truth. Did I say truth? Well, truth. Truth isn't something to try and enforce. It should be endorsed by a reliable source. A good place to start would be science, of course. Let's shift the paradigm to support our vision. Through lifestyle choices, we can lead the mission. The cleanest existence is green and efficient. Lifestyle change is a change of heart. It's all a continuous process, and we can all play our part. Since the governments aren't standing with us, let's model change. Let's encourage transitions to reduce emissions. Did I say emissions? Yes, that's right, you heard me say emissions. Well, let me tell you, I could talk about plastics, packaging, disposable coffee cups, plastic water bottles, fossil fuels, the Great Barrier Reef, the Great Australian Bight. We could all sit back, or we could take up the fight against habitat erosion. Yes, you have been chosen. There's plenty of hope to change our planet, so let's plan it. Let's plan it together so we can change it. Young and old, we can stand tall and with pride before the earth is fried. Caution, warning, everyone stay back. It's come to my attention that we are off track. We have spent a long time turning our back. I thought people died at war so I could be free. But what is free besides the air that I breathe? The air that I breathe may be free, but it is pollution, and it comes at a price. A price? What will be the price? The price of pollution is extinction. We could all be gone in a blink of an eye, when the earth is fried, and we can no longer walk the earth with pride. Look at those wide eyes staring blankly at the sky with no tears left to cry. Hear what the voices of the silence say. All the joys will be ours if we put forth our claims. We must not cast shame or strive for fame. I might sound lame, but at least I came to share with you and hold your hand. Together we can make a stand. No need to dream or think too hard. Just take a look around your backyard. Please don't wait until it's a graveyard. Vegetarian, Presbyterian, it doesn't matter who you are. We can all come from afar. As a team, we will reduce pollution. Caring is the first solution. Global warming, greenhouse gases. To see the harm, we don't need glasses. I am a voice of Permayouth, one of many young people who stand by the truth. All around the world we come together. One voice, one dream, one vision. There'll be no division. So please consider when you're making plans that you leave a greener earth in our capable hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Eve. Wow, that's so powerful. I mean, where do those words even come to you? I mean, you kind of like channel those slam poems, Eve. Amazing.
Such rhythm.
So we're going to go straight into the next video, and we can kind of have a chat about all these at the end, but we're going to go into Somali's film. Somali, give us a wave down there if you can see us. So Somali has made, this is his second, he's just finished a permaculture design course in Uganda taught by Sakina, who you might have met last time, who's a teacher that I met in Uganda. Maya and I did permaculture courses with her in Uganda about 18 months ago. And so this is his second permaculture song. So watch the video and come back when it's over. Hi, some of you are coming back. We accidentally shared the URL to Somali's first song, which is an awesome song, and I'm glad you got a chance to watch it. But he does have a second song that he prepared and worked really hard for, which was the second link that I sent to you. So please make sure you get a chance to watch that as well. Somali is here with us, and I would love for Somali to have a chance to just, maybe just for 2 minutes, because we're kind of running out of time, I'm sorry, for tonight. But Somali, do you want to just have a quick chat to tell us a little bit about your songwriting team over there, and how was it in your permaculture course that you've just done with Sakina?
Thank you very much for the chance to speak. First of all, I want to thank God because I've completed my PDC Permaculture learning course with Madam Sakina. So that is the first, and I'm really love it because it inspired me a lot. That is the first. But the second one, I want to talk about, I want to go directly through what I learned from and what I made the song that I did. So after learning permaculture, I come and find that in the world, people that are dying, while others that are poor because of not aware of permaculture. Permaculture, it is an farming method that helps many people to reach their target. And in the song, I start by saying that many people die in the world as the poor. They die because of hunger, because they don't have money to buy a food and whatever, but the permaculture came to help those people. So people, they have to concern and to be real need in permaculture. So they have to support permaculture in anywhere so that they can get a food, they can eat, but also that can help them to get their basic needs by selling that one and gain the money. I think that is the best, and it's what I did in that song. That was see some pictures, but the bad luck it is that it is in Swahili, so many people they're not getting. But I try to make a subtitle. I think people they will read there and they'll understand more. So I think, and this year just only need other people to do this as my fellow youth, to continue even them to do such song, because song is reached to many people earlier enough, as I hear from Mr. Mgas says that the song is very best to educate, and is what we say in the song is that we're educating for better and for future, because now we're educating this generation. I think my brothers and sisters who will come later will come and find this, and will, even then they'll just continue that mind for teaching others. So that is all about that song, and I was very grateful because people even love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Somali, and thank you so much for all the effort you went into it. And I saw the pictures of you guys writing it and then filming it. And I also want to thank all of you who are here today and if you came yesterday, because through yesterday and today, when you signed up, it's a free online festival, but many of you donated. So to the Ethos Foundation, and we send 100% of any funds that come into the Ethos Foundation directly to groups like Somali's Permayouth Group, to Bemariki's Permayouth Group, and this time we raised $800. So thank you, everyone. It's absolutely amazing. Last month we sent the money, half of it to Bemariki's group and half of it to Sakina's group, and they got educational materials. They've got sewing machines, so it makes a difference. And so thank you to everyone who's done that. So I'm really sorry to cut you off, Somali. I would love to speak. Oh, you have some, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to talk about that. We're very thankful because that money come and help us to find the books, the good books that go and print by Madam Sakina. But also it helps us to get some of the items to continue with our farmer. That is also a great help. But also, I want to talk about one issue. Maybe I can raise it later about the equipment to make that. So also we need a support so that we can get a good equipment of making a video and also audio. Here it's very difficult to find those equipment. So if there's anywhere that you can help us, yeah, we'll be real grateful.
Yeah, Somali has asked if we can help support him to set up kind of like a recording studio. These guys make amazing songs and they don't have the equipment. So there's such creative energy there. So, you know, if there's any way that we can help them, we will. And with your support, everyone who's here and all your friends, you know, let them know that if they donate to the Ethos Foundation, that we'll just send it straight through to groups like Somalis and Bemariki. So thank you for being here. We have 5 minutes left, and I really did want to show you one last little film because Sofia is here. Now, I know we have Jujita here who also has a film. We have Chloe who also has a film, and Bemariki has a film. But like I said, you're just going to have to come back next week because we have so much to show. The last film that we will show is Sofia. Now, Sofia, give us a wave. Sofia is in the Philippines, and her mum is doing a permaculture course with me at the moment, and Sofia has been involved in the Permayouth as well, and she has made the most awesome film. How old are you, Sofia?
I am 9 years old.
You're 9 years old. And tell us just a few things about the film that we're about to see. Just like, what is it, where is it that you're taking us to in your film?
I am taking you to my kitchen garden in our lot that is soon to be our home.
Excellent. Okay, so
in the Philippines.
So Sofia is in the Philippines, and this is, so if you click that link, you will see Sofia's garden tour. So when you finish, come back and then we'll wrap up the session. Yeah, well done, Sofia. Great tour, so much information in there, really great practical things. And what I love to see too is that you've incorporated a lot of really fabulous indigenous food plants in your garden, as well as you know, plants for more. So you're just beginning, but you've got all those different layers. Well done, Sofia. Now, thank you. Oh yeah, thank you. And so if anyone would like to send in a film, a poem, a photograph, a story, anything that you'd like to contribute to the next one. And like I said, I apologize for those of you who didn't get to fit in this time. We will share them in next week and the week after. Keep them coming in. Sign up to our newsletter. Maya puts out a weekly newsletter that sends out a whole lot of really useful tips and snips and reminders of when the meetings are. And also all of the links and the references that Costa's put into the chat as well. I'll put those with the recording. And I will also send you all out a recording of this so you can kind of see the bits you missed or share it with friends. Thank you so much for coming. I'd like to maybe toss it back over to Costa for some last words, maybe something of, you know, things we could go out and do in the world that you think we should all be doing. I don't know, that's a very big question, but what do you recommend for a Permayouth like these to be doing to step up and be the best possible ambassadors for permaculture that they could be? Hang on, you're muted, Costa.
I muted while I was watching Sofia's video. Well done, Sophia. That was great. And you know, the thing I liked about the videos that I looked at, you know, from a television point of view and a presentation point of view, I thought you just kind of moved nicely. You didn't sort of make it really hard to watch. You said, oh, and over here, and you went over there, and then over here. And I mean, they're little things, but they're big things, because if people are going to watch it, they don't want to have a sick bucket there because you're sort of doing these ones, you know, different ways of playing, and there's kind of snap shifts, but you know, in a video where you're watching to learn, it can be a bit intimidating. But that was wonderful, Sophia, and so many plants there, quite a few that I haven't heard of before. So it was really an educational tour. So thank you.
Thank you, Costa.
It's really wonderful. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing some of the other videos later. But look, I suppose the thing I'd say, well, first of all, thank you, Morag and Maya, for the chance to come and talk to all of the Permayouth today. Like I touched on earlier, don't underestimate how valuable the work you're doing is. The Somali, the music videos are an incredibly powerful way to get messages out there, to connect people to the idea of permaculture, and then deeper than that, connecting to their food and their health. And you talked about that in the lyrics. And as you know from Charlie McGee, he has such wonderful lyrics, and it's those lyrics that are the story and the narrative. And it was the same with the poetry. There's so many different ways we can, you know, Eve, the poetry, it catches that story with another rhythm, and it catches an audience in a different way, and it connects to a different part of us. You know, the rhythm gets us, you know, and you're absorbing stuff without taking it in. A poem, you're a little more sort of into the rhythm, but you're thinking in a different way. And we need all those things, because we can't be serious. We can't be just focused on all the issues, because that will drive us over the edge. We need this looseness. We need this capacity to switch from learning about food and cooking it. And that's as important, because those messages in there that Sophia was talking about, this is an edible plant, this is a medicinal plant, this one's our local plant to our area, there's a plant that we make jam from, all of that. So each and every one of you are in different circles. Where's the foodie? Where's the environmentalist? Where's the muso? Where's the artist? Where's the poet? Where's the hiker? Where's the communicator? Where's the neighbor? Where's the fellow student? Where's, you know, each and every one of us have so many hats on, and think about how you can wear those hats and how you can tell the same information, but in a different context. And I think you all are already doing that. And just remember that, as we've seen in all of these different presentations, it's just bits and pieces. One thing, if one thing sticks, boom, success. We don't have to shift people in one go. We have to do it bit by bit. And those bits come from all parts of the wheel. And the more we practice that, the more we know, okay, I've got to put my foodie hat on here, or I'm going to put my music hat on with this crowd, and I'm going to be this. And that's not about being deceptive. It's about being receptive. It's about being capable of sniffing the atmosphere and saying, I need a chicken in this conversation, or I need a compost bin in this conversation, or I need my bass and I've got to play some music, and just drop one little bit of advice in. So yeah, be flexible, with everything that you learn and present it in lots of different ways.
Hey, thanks so much, Costa, for dropping in on the Permayouth Festival. It's been such a delight to have you. I just kind of like to do a little bit of a photo of everyone doing a bit of a wave. So can we just all, hang on a tick, let me see. All right, everyone give a bit of a wave and a smile. Yay. Now I'm just gonna have to go to the next screen because we've got people over there too. Hang on a tick. Keep waving, keep waving. Awesome. Thank you. Now, bye, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's been an absolute delight to have you. I hope you'll come back next time. Come back next week as well. We'll be here at 5:30. I'll put the link in the chat as well. It's been awesome, and thanks, Costa. You're a legend.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks,
everyone.
Bye bye, everyone.
Drama.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Costa.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Awesome to meet you.
Awesome to meet you too.
Thank you.